There is a question that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Who are you really when no one is looking? Not the role you perform at work, not the persona you build on social media, not the version of yourself that you present to your parents, your friends, or your partner, but you, the raw and unfiltered truth behind all the masks. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher who shook the foundations of modern thought, dedicated his life to a disturbing conclusion. Most of us have no idea who we really are. And worse, we are actively running away from this discovery. Sartre called this bad faith, a state of systematic self-deception where you hide behind fabricated identities, social roles, and convenient excuses to avoid facing the radical freedom that defines your existence. For Sartre, you are not born with a predetermined essence. There is no true self waiting to be discovered like buried treasure. Existence precedes essence. You were thrown into this world without an instruction manual, without a defined purpose, without a fixed nature. And then, at every moment, with every choice, you are creating who you are. The anguish of this is unbearable. That's why most people prefer to believe comforting lies. Throughout this video, we will dive into Sartre's brutal philosophy and decode why you are living a false life, how the gaze of others imprisons you in fictional versions of yourself, and what it takes to finally accept total responsibility for your existence. Prepare yourself, because Sartre does not offer comfort. He offers freedom, and freedom, as you will discover, is a sentence. You hide behind social roles. Sartre observed something disturbing in everyday human interactions. People are rarely authentic. Instead, they perform. The waiter serving your table is not simply serving coffee. He is acting the role of a waiter. His gestures are exaggerated, his posture artificial, his politeness mechanical. He has transformed himself into a function. This is bad faith in action. It is the desperate attempt to reduce yourself to an object, a fixed identity, to escape the terrifying freedom of being human. When you say, "I am a doctor," "I am a father," "I am introverted," you are trying to define yourself as something complete, finished, unchangeable. But Sartre reminds you, you are never simply something. You are always becoming. For Sartre, the human being is defined by transcendence, the ability to go beyond oneself, to negate what one is, to project oneself into the future. When you fully identify with a social role, you deny your own transcendence. You petrify yourself. You turn yourself into a thing. And things have no freedom. Things do not choose. Things simply are. Look at your life on social media. How many of your posts are authentic, and how many are carefully curated to project a specific image? You post the picture that shows your perfect life, your ideal body, your impressive achievements. But what's left out? The anxiety, the doubt, the emptiness. You are performing an identity for an invisible audience, and in the process, you are losing yourself. At work, you use corporate language, adopt expected professional posture, repress your true opinions. You become the model employee. But when you go home and remove the mask, who is looking back at you in the mirror? Someone you recognize? The arsenal. Start by identifying your roles. Make a list of all the identities you perform: professional, family, social. Now ask, in which of these roles do I feel the farthest from myself? Where am I simply following a script? Awareness is the first step toward authenticity. The gaze of the other defines you more than you imagine. In his work, Being and Nothingness, Sartre describes a revealing scene. You are looking through a keyhole, completely absorbed in the action. In that moment, you are pure consciousness, pure engagement with the world. There is no I observing you. You simply are the act of peeking. But then you hear footsteps. Someone is coming. Suddenly, you become the object of the other's gaze. And in that instant, you see yourself as the other sees you, a voyeur, someone shameful. The gaze of the other transforms you. It reveals a dimension of yourself that you cannot control, how you exist for others. This creates a fundamental tension in human existence. You are not only how you see yourself, you are also how others see you, and this part of your existence is entirely outside your control. The other has the power to objectify you, to reduce you to an essence, to judge and define you. And you know this. That's why you live negotiating with the gaze of others. Sartre is not saying that the opinion of others is irrelevant. On the contrary, the gaze of the other is constitutive of your identity. You need recognition to exist socially. But the problem arises when you allow this gaze to dominate you, when you internalize the other's vision as the absolute truth about who you are. Bad faith happens when you accept the definitions others make of you and adopt them as your unchangeable essence. I'm shy, you say, repeating what people always told you. I'm irresponsible. You accept, crystallizing someone else's judgment into identity. You stop being a project in progress and become a thing defined by external perception. Think of someone who lived their entire life trying to meet their parents' expectations, studied the career they wanted, married someone they approved of, built the life they imagined. Every choice made under the weight of parental gaze. One day, this person wakes up at 40 and realizes, I have no idea who I am outside these expectations. Sartre would say, you lived your life in bad faith. You defined yourself only through the gaze of the other, abandoning your freedom to create yourself.
If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support.
Now the bill comes due, the anguish of realizing you spent decades building a life that was never yours. Practical application. Do this brutal exercise. Identify an important decision you need to make. Now imagine that no one will ever know about this decision. Your parents, your friends, society. What would you choose? If the answer differs from what you'd choose publicly, you are living dominated by the gaze of the other.
Existence precedes essence. You are what you do. This is the cornerstone of Sartrean existentialism, and probably the most misunderstood idea in modern philosophy. For millennia, humanity believed the opposite, that humans have a universal nature, a predetermined essence, a purpose embedded in each individual. Sartre destroys that illusion. You do not have a fixed nature. You do not have an eternal soul with predetermined characteristics. You do not have a destiny traced by gods or the cosmos. You simply exist. You are thrown into this world without asking, without reason, without inherent purpose. And then what? Then you must create yourself. Existence precedes essence means first you exist, then you define yourself through your choices. You don't act a certain way because that's who you are. You are that way because you act that way. The sequence is the opposite of what you always imagined. This idea is liberating and terrifying. Liberating because it means you are not trapped by nature, past, or inherited identity. You can choose differently and become someone different at any moment. Terrifying because it eliminates all excuses. You can no longer say, I'm just like this, I can't change. You can't blame genetics, upbringing, zodiac signs, or personality types. Sartre confronts you with an uncomfortable truth. You are the result of your choices. Every action, every decision, every moment you chose to do or not do something, all of this created you. How many times have you said, "I'm bad at relationships. I'm not a creative person. I can't change"? Every one of these statements is a lie in bad faith. You are not describing an essence. You are justifying your refusal to choose differently. Sartre forces you to reframe. You are bad at relationships because until now you have not chosen to do the work required to improve them. You are not creative because you have not chosen to engage in creative practice. You don't change because you choose every day to repeat the same patterns. This is not cruelty. It is truth. And truth, however painful, is the only starting point for authenticity. The arsenal. List 3 characteristics you believe are your unchangeable essence. Now, for each one, identify the concrete actions you take or fail to take that reinforce it. See it clearly. You're not this way because it's your nature. You're this way because you choose to act this way. And choices can be changed. Pivot point, the void of freedom. Up to this point, we've deconstructed the masks, the power of the external gaze, and the illusion of fixed essence. You may already feel the characteristic discomfort of Sartrean existentialism, a sense of vertigo, of losing the ground under your feet. That's expected, because Sartre does not give you a new identity to replace the old ones. He gives you something far more frightening: absolute freedom. But now we must go deeper. We must explore what this freedom really means in practice, why it causes so much anguish, and how most people spend their entire lives running away from it. Prepare yourself for the laws that reveal the darkest side of the human condition, and also the path to authenticity. You are condemned to be free. This is perhaps Sartre's most famous sentence. Man is condemned to be free. Notice the word, not blessed, not destined, condemned, as if freedom were a burden, a punishment from which you cannot escape. Why? Because Sartrean freedom is not the freedom to do whatever you want without consequences. It's something far more radical and heavier: the impossibility of not choosing. At every moment, you are choosing. Even when you do nothing, you choose to do nothing. Even when you hand the decision to someone else, you choose to abdicate responsibility. There is no escape, no pause, no neutral. And here is the most terrifying part. You are totally responsible for these choices. Not partially, totally. You cannot blame God. Sartre says God does not exist. You cannot blame human nature. It does not exist. You cannot blame society. You choose how to respond to it. You cannot even blame your past. You choose every moment how to relate to it. Sartre distinguishes between ontological freedom and empirical freedom. Ontological freedom is absolute. You always have the ability to choose, even under extreme circumstances. Empirical freedom is limited. You cannot choose to fly, to be immortal, to change your birth circumstances. Anguish arises when you confront your ontological freedom, because it means that regardless of what happens to you, the way you respond is your choice. And that choice defines you. No valid excuses, no mitigation. You are entirely, absolutely responsible for who you become. Think of your usual complaints. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have money to change careers. I don't have support to pursue my dreams. Sartre does not deny these limitations, but he confronts you. Within these limitations, you still have choices. You choose to prioritize something over exercise. You choose financial security over professional fulfillment. You choose to wait for support instead of acting, despite its absence. Recognizing this is not about self-punishment. It's about reclaiming your power. While you see yourself as a victim of circumstances, you are powerless. When you recognize you choose within circumstances, you regain agency. And agency is the first step toward transformation. The arsenal. For a week, every time you say, "I have to do X," or "I can't do Y," consciously rephrase it. I am choosing to do X. I am choosing not to do Y. Feel the discomfort. That discomfort is your freedom staring back at you.
Anguish is the price of consciousness. Sartre identified 3 fundamental feelings that arise when you confront your freedom: anguish, abandonment, and despair. Let's focus on anguish because it is the thermometer of authenticity. The more you live in bad faith, the less anguish you feel. The more you face your freedom, the more anguish you experience. Sartrean anguish is not fear or worry. It is the vertigo of looking into the abyss of your possibilities and realizing that nothing prevents you from choosing anything. It's the moment when you stand on the edge of a cliff and realize, I could jump. Not because you want to, not because it makes sense, but simply because you can. And nothing but your own choice stops you. This vertigo extends to every area of life. You could cheat on your partner. You could quit everything and start over. You could destroy your reputation. You could act completely outside the character you built. And what stops you? Only you. Only your past choices, which have no binding power over your future choices. Anguish reveals that you have no nature to guide you, no essence to protect you from yourself. You are radically free, which means radically unstable. You are never fully defined. You can always become something else, and this is terrifying. Most people will do anything to avoid this anguish. They create rigid routines, adopt fixed identities, cling to absolute moral rules, believe in predetermined destinies, all to maintain the illusion that they are not choosing every moment, that they are simply following a natural, inevitable path. But Sartre says that is the supreme bad faith. You pretend you are not free to avoid carrying the weight of freedom. You hide from anguish, and in the process, you hide from yourself. Practical application. Anguish is uncomfortable, but it is also a sign that you are alive, conscious, free. When you feel that vertigo before a major decision, don't run. Don't numb it. Don't ask someone else to decide. Sit with it. Recognize this is my freedom confronting me. This is the weight of genuine choice. And then, choose.
Hell is other people, but you need them. In his play, No Exit, Sartre created one of the most powerful images in modern philosophy. 3 people, trapped in a room with no mirrors, condemned to see themselves only through the gaze of one another. The famous conclusion, hell is other people. This phrase is often misunderstood. Sartre is not saying we should isolate ourselves, that people are bad, or that relationships are impossible. He is revealing a tension. You need others to exist fully, but others also imprison you through their perceptions, turn you into an object, define you in ways you cannot control. Hell is not other people in general. Hell is the impossibility of escaping the other's gaze. It's being trapped in a version of yourself that the other created, with no way to redefine yourself.
It's the eternal conflict between your freedom to create yourself and the other's power to objectify you. Sartre recognizes that human relationships are inherently conflictual. Every consciousness wants to be subject, but in the presence of another consciousness, one will be reduced to object. When someone looks at you, you become an object of their gaze. When you look back, they become an object. It's a constant game of attempts at domination and recognition. But this doesn't mean we should abandon relationships. It means we must enter them consciously, knowing this tension is inevitable. Authenticity in relationships requires recognizing the other's freedom as much as your own. Think of your closest relationships. How many are built on mutual bad faith? You play a role to please the other, and the other plays a role to please you. Both of you are trapped in a dance of masks, afraid that if you show your true self, you'll be rejected. Sartre challenges you. Risk authenticity. Show yourself as you really are, contradictions, doubts, complexities included. Yes, you risk rejection, but the alternative is worse. Living your entire life in relationships where you are never truly present, where the one being loved is the mask, never you. The arsenal. Choose an important person in your life and do this exercise. Share something true about yourself that contradicts the image you project. Something that makes you vulnerable, that breaks the mask. Observe the discomfort, but also the possibility of genuine connection.
You are your own creation. Accept the work. We reach the final point of Sartre's journey. After dismantling all illusions, excuses, and masks, only this remains. You are the project you are building. Not who you were, not who you plan to be, but who you are being right now, through your concrete choices. Sartre does not offer you a true self to be discovered. He does not promise a hidden, authentic essence deep inside your psyche. He offers something more radical. You are creating that self at every moment, and you never finish creating it because you are always in process, always becoming. The question is not, who am I really, but who am I choosing to be now? And the answer lies in your actions, not your intentions. You are what you do, not what you think you are or wish you were. This is the only authenticity possible in the Sartrean universe. To assume full responsibility for your existence, recognize that you are creating yourself every moment, and make conscious choices, knowing those choices define you. There is no salvation, no final redemption, only the constant engagement in the project of being. And here is the final paradox. You will never be complete. You will never reach a point where you can say, now I know who I am definitively. Because you are always transcending, always projecting yourself into the future, always denying what you were to become something new. Stop now and take an honest inventory. Not of who you think you are, but of who you are being through your actions. How do you spend your time? How do you treat others? What choices do you repeatedly make? These actions reveal who you are creating. If you don't like what you see, remember, you are not trapped. You have no fixed nature. You can make different choices, starting right now. And those choices will create you anew. Sartre does not give you comfort. He gives you something more valuable. Total freedom. The terrifying, dizzying, absolute freedom to create yourself from scratch, moment by moment, until your last breath. Do you have the courage to use this freedom? Or will you keep hiding in bad faith, pretending you have no choice, pretending you are trapped in who you've always been?